All right. So yesterday I spent some time planning how to do input, and I decided I don't need to use Combine because there was no real need for it, right? Like the SpriteKit scene abstracts away keyboard input and mouse input and touch input, and you just need to override some methods, and you're good to go. But I had overlooked the fact that when you use gamepads, game controllers, oh, messy. So when you use game controllers, they are not working the same way. They can appear, they can disappear. You need to have a notification listener just to know when they're like what the list of them is. And then you can have input from multiple ones, and you don't necessarily get you don't get updates. You don't get like button A down, button A up, but what you get is like a stream of various levels of something being pressed, right? Like it's a bit more complicated than I expected. And yesterday, I already off screen looked a bit into this and started experimenting with detecting this input. And so I did end up trying to use Combine for it, just because it's, I think, a nicer way to kind of filter out events you don't care about, duplicate events, and so on. So instead of getting like a list of, well, let me walk you through the details. So basically, I took the controller publisher, which is a class that basically all it does, it just emits, it registers to the notification center, and when the controller list is updated, it sends out a new array of GC controller objects. And that's all. And so now in a controller publisher, controller input publisher, what I'm doing is I am processing them one by one. So that's this flat map. So in here, I say like flatten these arrays, then only use only like use the extended gamepad controller. Like that's the value I care about. And then remove duplicates. So if it's the same controller for some reason being reported, we don't care. We already processed it. And then the only thing we want to do is we want to say, here's the value changed handler. And we could be, I guess we could be more specific, but yeah, we could have like specific handlers for button A, button B, and so on. But here it's just we have just one for value change handler, and that kind of like handles everything. And then after I set the value change handler, what I do in the handler is I kind of pipe back in this in a different pass-through subject. So I get the gamepad and I get the element that changed. So this can be a button, this can be the stick, and I pipe a tuple back in this element pass-through subject, and then in the element pass-through subject, what I do is I do some filtering. And this is maybe not a good way to do it, actually, because I'm using the value change handler, which sends information about everything, and then I filter out only information that I care about. So actually what I could be doing is I could be just listening to the change handler for button A instead, and then I don't need to do this all of this mapping, right? But I'm still kind of experimenting and trying out different things. I'm not sure what the best way to solve this is. But basically what I do here is I try to map, I try to cast every change as a button change. And so if it's the thumbstick being moved or like the D-pad, then I guess it would not happen. It would fail because I'm using compact map. So it's only going to propagate anything that's not nil. And then I filter, and I filter basically on aliases. So every input button has an array of aliases, and I'm checking if this pre-configured button A name is one of the aliases for the button. And then I know it's button A. And so same for button B and same for button menu, right? And so what happens is when I have this, and so currently you can see down here in the Xcode output field, you can see there's no controllers. I'm going to turn it on, and when it connects, yeah, so now we got a controller. And now if I'm pressing a button, Like I get the element output lines that comes from um, somewhere else. Actually, where does it come from? Where do I output element? Oh, maybe I didn't recompile it. Let's try again. Yeah, so here we go. This is the right version. So input event, confirm, and I only get one input event when I click a button. And just to demonstrate what happens if I monitor every handler, every change handler event, then element changed. Let's type this. So now you'll see like input event is going to be logged with the output of the combine pipeline, and then element changed is going to be the log for everything we receive. All right, like this is what it looks like, because it's every button on the gamepad is actually sensitive to how much you're pressing it. So it's not just pressed or not, though it does have that object as well, that value. But you get, for each press, you get a lot of events, right? And if I'm kind of like not, if I keep it pressed, but with varying pressure levels, I just keep getting new events, right? And so this is what I'm kind of filtering out right now with this combine thing, because I'm saying remove duplicates. So I cast every event to its is pressed property at the end. I map it, not cast it, map it to is pressed. Then remove duplicates. So that means if I get two pressed buttons in a row, it's gonna discard them until it gets a change. And so then I know, oh, this is at this point when I call sync, I know this is button A. Something changed with the button A, and whether it's pressed or not is in the first argument to sync, because that's the map. That's is pressed basically, right? So this is pressed. And then if it's pressed, I just send a confirm event, right? And so these game input events, this is what I map everything to. That's my normalization layer. It's not button A anymore. It's like confirm or back or pause and so on. And it's going to be the same for like left and right, then up and down. And then probably that's almost it. And so this is almost nice, but there's one issue with this. And the issue is that currently this only works with a single gamepad, I think. So I cannot test it because I don't actually have multiple gamepads. But what's happening here basically is I'm mapping every event to its is pressed, like button type and then is pressed, and then I remove duplicates, and that is fine. But I could have two gamepads sending events at the same time. And so if I press a button on gamepad 1, it's going to trigger, and then I press a button on the same button on gamepad 2 while still keeping the button pressed on gamepad 1, it's not going to trigger because it doesn't know it's a different gamepad. All it knows is button A is pressed, and it was already pressed, and so it's not going to send this output for gamepad controller 2. And then when I lift the button on gamepad controller 2, it is going to trigger this event. And now when I lift the button again on the first controller, it's not, because it's like shared state for them. And another issue here is that I don't propagate the source of the event. So because I map it to is pressed, I map it to a Boolean value, I lose the original information, like what actually sent out this information, which I need, and which I want, because I want to associate events with specific players, and specific players have will have been mapped to specific gamepads. So anyway, long story short, I think what I need to do here is change a bit how I do everything basically. So first of all, the control publisher, I need to keep listening to everything coming from the controller publisher, and I do not need to remove duplicates, and I do not need to map to extended. Well, I can map to extended gamepad, but I cannot do a flat map because I need to know about bulk changes. I need to know when everything changed because because I'm going to set up some subscribers, and I want to throw everything out that I've set up since when there's a bulk change on the controller status. So I'm going to get rid of the flat map, and I'm going to get rid of the duplicates. Can I get rid of the duplicates? I'm not completely sure actually, because I guess if it's duplicates, for some reason, if we get the same objects twice, it's no big deal. So we can actually remove duplicates. So now at this point in value, we should, value should be, so what is the value actually? So value should be the, it's a tuple, right? No, so, okay, right. So we're mapping, let's double check, control publisher, output, GC controller. Okay, so it's a list of controllers. Okay, so we map every item. So this should be a list. This should be a list of, it is not a list of extended gamepad because I cannot map it. So actually, let's do like a flat map. And now we can map the internal array Is this syntax right? No, exact matches control publisher. Okay, so we can have flat map, and then we need to end up with the publisher in the flat map. So what's happening here is, okay, the syntax is actually, it's a bit tricky, I think, especially if you haven't used this. And I haven't used this a lot, so it's tricky for me, which is the worst kind of tricky. Like it's bad when it's tricky for others, it's worse when it's tricky for you, for yourself, what you're writing. So basically we do a map, but we cannot map each object separately because each object is an array, right? So we do a flat map, which is gonna accept publishers and then just like emit everything from those internal publishers. And so these need to be bounded. Well, in our case it is, because internally we get an array here. This is an array of game controllers. Then we call regular old map on an array. Every item in the array is a game controller. So we map it to the extended gamepad profile. And then we return a publisher because that's what the flat map needs. And then we remove the duplicates, and then we sync and blah, blah, blah. And actually, can we remove nil, replace nil with no. So we might have some nil items here, but we don't want those. We only want the ones that are not nil. So compact map, I guess, publishes only, is this the one? Nah. Sequence. Okay, I think the compact map is not that close to flat map. Okay, yeah, so if we use a flat map, then every item in the end is an extended gamepad. But again, we have lost the bulk changes because we flat mapped it, so yeah. All right, let's just keep it simple. Let's remove duplicates and then let extended is, oh, actually, I think controller publisher already filters out everything that's not extended, right? Like filter extended gamepad is not nil. So maybe we can actually change this to only output. What is the type here? GC extended gamepad. Well, let's just use this directly. So we filter, and then we're gonna map to the extended gamepad, and that's it. And because we filtered here for nil, we can forcefully unwrap. I guess that should be fine. And now we have a list of extended gamepads. Okay, perfect. Extended gamepad. Okay. So now we want to have a set of cancellables, which basically represent a combine subscription for changes, right? So extended GC cancellables, let's call it that. Or let's just call it cancellables, actually, we already have this. So when we get a new batch object, we just, can we clear it? Delete everything, empty, no. So we're just gonna say this is a new set. So at this point, when we get a new list of controllers, we empty out the cancellables. And at this point, like the only references to these combine pipelines should be in this set. And so if we empty the set, if we create a new set, the old set is going to be dropped, and like all of that is going to be released. And now for extended gamepad in value set up so extended self bind to extended gamepad. Let's do this. So actually we need a new set. So we're gonna have like cancellables that are like something we don't want to drop. Let's say we don't want to drop these. And then transient cancellables. Gamepad list changes. So when the gamepad list changes, we're going to use this transient cancellables. And for everything that's permanent to the controller input publisher, we want to keep around, such as like this in controller publisher listener. We're going to keep that here. So transient cancellables is what we want to set to false. Now we need to bind each controller to a thing. Let's say so what does this method do? It analyzes value change listeners for a gamepad and stores the subscription in transient cancels. All right, so let's do this. So now in bind to, we can say extended gamepad value change handler is going to be a lambda. Like we're gonna inline this because we want this to be specific to the gamepad. So each value handler is gonna be what's the syntax again? What is the all right, so it would be very helpful if I actually knew Swift better. Is it like this? Build succeeded. Oh my God, I do know Swift. I take it all back. I take it all back. I do know Swift very well. So now, at this point, we know what is happening for a given gamepad. All right. So what do we want to do now? Let's see. So we want, maybe we don't want to use the value change handler actually. Maybe we want to use the button A change handler. Button handler value. Oh, but we only have value changed handler, so this is interesting. Why? It's pressed. So here we have pressed change handler is directly on the button. So we don't care about this touched. We want to care about it pressed change handler. And so this, what is the signature for this thing? Where is it? Press change handler. Press change handler. Show us the signature. What is its signature? So it's the button, float, and pressed. Button, float, pressed. Double. Float. We just need to capitalize the float, of course. That's silly of me. And so now let's see. Button is pressed. It's pressed. So does this happen? Like what happens now at this point? What have we done? Oh, and I forgot to. Oh no, it's fine. I don't need to do anything. Well, I probably need to do something because nothing is happening. Did we? Now we got it. Now we got the extended gamepad. And this is great. We don't need any complicated combined chains to just get these pressed. Like the game controller APIs take care of it for us. So this is great actually. So at this point, we can say game input event subject. We can say send input and then like confirm because this is button A, and then if is pressed, we can send it if it's pressed. Let's uncomment this line because this is going to let us know if any of our, we need to refer to self. And so this subscription down here on line 58 is going to log the normalized input events that we have detected. And so if we click, I need to set focus to the game. So now let's try. Boom. Input event confirm. It is doing things, but it's not enough to just do this. We also need to preserve the source of this event. So now let's go to game input event. What do we have? We have game input event, but we also want game input source. I'm just really spitballing here. I'm not sure if this is the best way to do it, but let's say case gamepad Dutch case keyboard. I don't know if that's the best way to actually say, because like keyboard and mouse is like you use that together, right? But let's say keyboard is keyboard and mouse. Okay, let's be explicit. Like we don't need to be super verbose, super terse. We can be verbose. It's no big deal. So input can be gamepad, input can be touch, and input can be keyboard and mouse. And if the input is keyboard, then we want to have an associated value. And the associated value should be the extended gamepad. And now we can go back and we can say that we're actually going to propagate game input event and game input source. We're going to send two things, not just one thing, right? So we want to send confirm, and we want to say this comes from a gamepad, and then we want to say this is our extended gamepad. Yay! So now we are propagating all the right stuff. So let's see what the output is now. Input event, confirm, gamepad, and then we send the gamepad. All right, and so then based on this, we could know which player sent this. If I had two gamepads, I could try this out, but I don't yet. I'll need to buy a gamepad, but let's add other buttons while we are at it. And actually, if we don't use any type of combine methods in this change handler, then maybe we don't need the transient cancelables. Like this whole concept was again over complicated from the get-go. So we have mapped confirm. Let's map button B. Button B could be like back button now button menu button menu will be like pause. Let's see. So now we should have three buttons working. All right, input event confirm, input event back, and now menu pause. Yeah, so everything is kind of working with this one controller. Cool. But now we should see about handling direction. So we have what is it called? Like we have a D-pad, but there can be multiple.
Did my AirPods disconnect? Classic.
Let's hope for the best. Computer shows. So to get direction, we can use the D-pad, but I don't really understand why there are multiple D-pads. Can there, like, what kind of controller has multiple D-pads? Maybe the sticks are also exposed as D-pads. Let's see. So
Oh, this is nice. Like all of them work. So right thumbstick, left thumbstick, and then the D-pad. Yeah, so everything that can go left can be mapped as a D-pad, and I guess the point is to get. I think the point is to get like a simpler interface maybe for it. Oh, my AirPods have disconnected again. All right, bit of an issue with the AirPods. I need new AirPods. I think this is Apple's way of saying I need to buy new hardware because it's not working well. Like I don't even see them in the All right, here we go. Come on, AirPods, please. This is more embarrassing for you, Apple, than me. I hope that nobody is seeing this. This is very sad. This is a sad moment. Oh my god, like it's not working. All right, I hope the built-in like Mac microphones are good enough to hear me. The sound must have changed a bit. I'll sort out my AirPod situation later. But basically, what I want to get back to is I can do left right now, and that's fine. I can do like boom, boom, like go left. Actually, let's try turning it off. So what happens? Turn it off. Yeah, nothing's happening. Turn it back on. Do we get anything? Yeah, we do. We get events. Okay, so turning it on and off again works. And then the only thing that's left is if you press left, you want to have this like this motion where like when you type a character, right? Like you press and it pauses for a bit. Oh, actually, Apple doesn't do that anymore, I guess. It just offers you to let's try with a number. Nah, Apple does not. Okay, so with a space it works. So this, come on. So if I press the space bar, then it's gonna move a bit, wait a bit, and then if I keep it pressed, it's gonna just like keep going. And can we do that with these? So I guess we could have touch change handler, value change. So handler when the pressure changes is pressed. So this is interesting. I'm not sure how to handle this best. We could listen for value changed, but if you press it and then like you keep it pressed, but the value, like the pressure doesn't change, I guess it wouldn't keep emitting a signal. What we want to do is we want to keep receiving a signal even though pressed didn't change. Well, okay, let's see. So left value changed handler is I guess it's the same type of handler. Oh no, sorry, that's not where I wanted to put it here. Left changed, and then like let's show the value. Like, does this work? Left. So you can get more events, but it doesn't keep emitting events. It doesn't keep emitting events. All right, that's something to consider for next time. So basically, this is going to be to do keep emitting events while pressed. I'm sure there's going to be like a great solution to do that. Meanwhile, I'm just going to do this for left, up, right, down. And so we already have like very rudimentary support for everything. So we can listen to new controllers. We can listen to new controllers, and then we can do a confirm, a back, a left, a right, down, up on all the thumbsticks and all the D-pads on the controller. So this is nice progress. Okay. Taking a break for now, and next thing I'm gonna check out is how to get these repeating events, and then I'm gonna merge this with processing for keyboard and touch, and then at that point we have like fundamentals of our input system. All right, very cool.